Hey, John the Tech here from Linkswell Automotive, coming to you on one of the very few rainy days in Southern California. But on this rainy day, we're going to be installing one of our universal 10-inch double din radio, T-style radios into this 2014 Toyota Sienna van. All right, so we went ahead and unboxed our universal T-style, and this is what's going to come in your box. This installation video is going to be a little different than our other ones because this is a universal application. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the vehicle itself because your vehicle is going to be different than a 2014 Sienna van. But what I do want to do is talk about the unit itself. So you'll notice the unit's going to come in two pieces. You're going to have the radio chassis and the screen. They come in two pieces with a plug. We'll talk about that on the install, but this is so that you can install it into the kit, put it in, and that way it fits around the dash. So let's go through what we got. Again, we've got the chassis, the CD or the DVD player, the screen itself, your main power harness, wireless remote with your user guide. You've got three plastic clips here. These are going to cover the hole for the screen to plug into, and then it's going to cover the two brackets, just kind of make it look a little better. You've got two stoppers here. Hopefully you can see these in the image in the camera. But these here, you're going to put these onto the screen if you have a vehicle application where the screen cannot turn one way or the other. This will prevent you from turning it or for somebody else turning it and breaking something. Then you've got a small package here of 6 silver screws to mount the screen, and then you've got all of your input plugs. So you've got your video output in case you have like a set of headrest or a flip down. You've got your different video inputs and outputs. You've got your amplifier outputs. This thing's equipped to have a center channel as well as a sub output. So you've got front, rear, sub, and center channel. You've got your 2 camera inputs. So you've got a front camera input and a rear camera input. Your GPS antenna, and then your white phone link interface dongle. You want to make sure you use this. This is what's going to figure out whether or not you have a Android or a CarPlay. So you got to make sure you use that. And then for this specific installation, we went with the Metra. We've got Metra's harness to make sure that we can get into that factory plug, and then our dash kit. So again, because this is universal, you will have to use third-party companies' parts. So depending on what vehicle you have, if you've got a vehicle that needs a special CAN bus interface, you'll have to get a hold of somebody like a PAC piece, a NAV piece, a Metra piece, something like that. And as well as a kit, you're going to have some kind of mounting kit, because we're going to mount like any other standard double din. Metra, Scosh, AI Network, something like that. You're going to have to get some kind of third-party parts to put all of this in. So now that you see what we have and what we're going to go in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my harnesses, and I'm going to wire up all these harnesses, get the radio mounted into the dash kit, because again, that part of the install is universal, and it's dependent upon which car you have. So I'm going to get all of this stuff ready for the install, and then we'll get into the van and we'll talk about how we mount everything and where we wire everything. All right, so we got ourselves in our van. So real quick, before I start taking the dash apart, I'll show you. Here's our unit, the radio can, and it's mounted into our Metra kit. So again, this is going to mount like any other double din. So depending on your kit, you're going to put the brackets on there, put the kit on there, mount the unit, do everything like you would if you were putting in any other industry standard double din. So you'll do all of that, get this ready, and then just like any other vehicle, you're going to pull apart what you got to pull apart to get the factory radio out. We'll get the factory radio out. We'll plug in everything. We'll talk real quick about the plugs that we're plugging in. Then we'll mount our radio chassis. We'll put our chassis in there. Then we'll reinstall the dash, and then once all of the dash is reinstalled, then we'll mount our monitor to the unit, plug it in, power it on, and we'll see how it works. So again, I'm going to speed up the video because no point in me explaining to you how to pull the dash apart unless you have a 2014 Sienna, and then in which case you're going to pull this bottom panel off to get to the AC controls, pop the AC controls off, and then there'll be 4 10mm underneath behind the AC controls that'll pull the radio out. So that's how you do it, just in case you got that 2014 Sienna. So let's go ahead and pull this all apart, and then we'll talk about plugs. All right, so there we go. We got ourselves the factory radios out, so you can see it here. This is all the panel pieces here, so you can see how we're gonna have to get the radio released from the air vents here. See if I can get that in frame for you. So we'll do that in just a moment. But you can see here the factory harnesses. So like I said, we used the Metro harness adapter and we wired it into our radio harness. So this piece here, again, is going to be a third party. Totally going to depend on what kind of vehicle you have. Some vehicles are going to require some kind of CAN bus interface. Some of them will just be a straight up harness. But whatever you need to install an aftermarket radio, you're going to need the same things for us. So we've got that done. So we'll go ahead and plug in our harness adapters here. You can see the factory FM antennas in there. We ran a DVR camera and a rear camera earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those wires up. We'll talk real quick about the navigation antenna. You can mount this underneath plastic of the dash, so it doesn't have to be on top of the dash, but it has to make sure that you do not put it under metal. So long as the only thing above it is plastic, it'll work just fine. Just so happens on this specific vehicle up here on the top dash is a big speaker grill for the center channel, and this car's got no center channel, so we'll be able to mount our antenna right up there, run it down here, and then we'll be able to plug it into our unit. So let me go ahead and get these last few wires ran, get my antenna mounted, and then we'll talk about the last few plugs, and then we will mount the unit and then mount the screen. All right, so there we go. We've got all of our wires ran up here. So now it's a matter of starting to plug stuff in. So we've got all of our accessory harnesses here. First one I want to talk about here is your RCA output. So if you've got amplifiers and you want to use this, our unit's actually got a 5-volt pre-out and it's 5.1, so it's got a center channel output for the DVD audio, so it can actually make quite a good headpiece for a good sound system. So that would be this plug here. Unfortunately, we're not doing amplifiers on this one, so we don't necessarily need that plug. The second one I want to talk about is the video output plug. So if you've got a set of headrests for your kids in the back seat, or perhaps you've got a flip down, same thing. You've got 2 video outputs that you can run, so that whatever DVD is playing on our unit, you can project to the back screens. Again, in this van, not putting in a rear entertainment. The other plug I want to talk about is this one here that will have 2 yellows, a white and a red. So this here's your auxiliary in. So if you wanted to run a DVD into it, or a video game system, or any kind of normal composite video signal, you get that with your front, or sorry, with your right, left, and your video. And then you also have a secondary DVR video input. So we offer a USB powered DVR camera, and that USB DVR will plug straight into one of the USBs of the system, record and be controlled from the system. But if you didn't purchase our DVR camera and you went with one of the maybe a pre-existing camera you had, you don't have to use your auxiliary input to view your DVR. We won't be able to record or control your DVR from our screen, but we can see what your camera is showing. So that you would use that plug there for that. And then the last plug I want to talk about is the camera input. So we've got a designated front camera and a designated rear camera input. As well, we give you some power if you want to run your power up to here for your cameras. Makes it a little bit easier on your install. For us, we installed a rear camera, but we grabbed our power back at the tail light to get the reverse trigger. So we're going to take this here, we're going to take our RCA that we ran from our camera, we're going to plug it into rear camera in, and that is what that is. And you can see here we also ran our USB DVR camera, so you can see our USB here. So now let's talk about mounting. So you can see the back of our unit here. So you've got your main power plug is going to plug in right here on the black one next to the fuse, and then all of your auxiliary plugs are going to plug into this square here with all these different white plugs. You've got two USB inputs. One is going to be this rear one here that you can run into the glove box. We're going to be using it for our DVR camera. Tech tip, if you've got a cheap USB hub, we actually sell them on our website. You can get like a 4 USB hub, and you can plug in the hub into this and get multiple signals on this one input. Just a little tech tip there. You see the blue plug here. This is going to be for your satellite antenna. Now this satellite antenna is going to be used for if you add the iGo navigation, as well as it will help the Google Maps and Waze and the Android tablet to figure out where you are. So you want to make sure you plug that in. You've got your Wi-Fi antenna here. You can see you want to make sure that black tab is on the back there, and then our FM antenna input. So we're going to go ahead and plug all of our plugs in. You can see we are mounted into our kit, and then we'll slide this in, mount it down, and then I'm going to go ahead and snap all of the plastic bezels so that the dash is back together just like a factory, just like it was factory. Sorry for the focus there. But we'll go ahead and put it all together, and then once it's together, we'll talk about plugging in and mounting the screen, and then we'll power it on. All right, so there you see we got our dash all back together, and you can see how the radio is mounted here, and we can get to our brackets and we can plug it in. If you notice, we've got a shift knob here in our way, so we might want to test fit this to make sure that if we turn it, if it'll hit the shifter, but we're good. Now let's say that you flipped it and yours would hit the shifter, or maybe the dash was in the way. Let me show you really quick. There's these little metal brackets. Hopefully I can get that in zoom for you. And what these will do is if you take the back of the screen, and you can see where the hinge bracket is. There are 2 screws located on the top and on the bottom. And if you can see in there, hopefully you'll have a unit and you'll be able to look at it. But there's a little tab there. So you would take these 2 screws out and mount your stopper with those 2 screws, and what it's going to do is it's going to prevent the screen from being able to rotate one way or the other. That way preventing, should you let someone borrow your car, ends up at a gas station or a mechanic shop and they try to spin that thing the wrong way, last thing you want them to do is to break your screen. So maybe do a quick test fit. We're good in this car. Some cars are going to be a little different. So now that we know that it'll fit, we're going to take our first plug here. This one's going to go through our harness. So we're going to feed our harness through the hole on this plastic clip. Like so. You can see it, hopefully it's on the plug there. So that way when we plug in this plug, we can kind of fill in this gap, so when you're looking at it from behind it doesn't look bad. And then also we're going to have our plastic clips here, and these are going to cover our brackets. You can kind of see how they would go in there like that once we get it mounted. So I, like a pro, forgot to grab my P1 screwdriver, so I'm going to go grab my P1 screwdriver, and then what we're going to do is we're going to open up our package with our 6 small silver screws. And what we're going to do, it's going to be really simple. We're going to plug in our unit, we're going to snap this center panel in, and then these 6 holes here, we're just going to screw them in. Don't screw too tight, you don't want to strip out those screws, but you do want to make sure it's nice and tight. Once those 3 screws are tight, we'll put our clips on there, and then we're going to power it on. All right, I'm back. Got my screwdriver. All right, let's mount this thing. Now, you might want to kind of rotate left and right, just because if you get all 3 on one side tight, and you go to tighten the other 3, they just might not fit. I don't know why my camera will not get itself zoomed in the way it needs to. I apologize. Let me zoom out. See if I can't clean up that image. There you have it. It's mounted. Let's turn her on. All right, so we're back. Sorry, my video cut out on me there. So we're done. It's powered on. It's working. Here you go. Show you some of the cool features. Here's our home screen where you can get to navigation, radio, Bluetooth, CD, DVD. You can burn music from a CD to a USB through our system. Go into your settings where you can set your clock, your date, your time, the different audio settings, gains for the different sources, change your video, the brightness of the screen. Then you've got where we're going to do some updates where you can change your the different navigation versions you use when you hit navigation. So say you want to use Waze, you'd set Waze, and then when you hit navigation on the home screen, Waze is what's going to open. But let's say you're a Google Maps guy, you'd rather do Google Maps, you just go back into that setting and go ahead and change that. But you can see we've got phone link, so you want to make sure you use that white dongle that I talked about earlier in the video to make sure that it works Android Auto or CarPlay. Sorry, my nav's jumping up. Aux in here for the front auxiliary. The apps, you open up this, you can do because it's an Android tablet, this is what makes us so different from every other double DIN radio out there. Not just that we have a 10.1 inch adjustable screen, but we are a 10.1 inch adjustable screen that's an Android tablet. So you can set up your Google Play Store account and you can launch the Google Play Store once you tethered yourself to some Wi-Fi, and you can download your favorite applications, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Netflix, Amazon Prime. The NFL app, oddly enough, will let you watch some Monday Night Football. But you can download all of those, and when you're in apps, it'll find itself here. You can see we've already got Facebook downloaded on there, Gmail if you wanted to check your mail. So that's cool with all your apps. And if you swipe one more, we've got even more menus. Movies to play through the USB, movies to play through the micro SD. We can turn our monitor off. We can access our front camera. We can access our DVR camera. We can access our auxiliary in from the back. Change our wallpaper and color key. So we have different ways to do wallpaper. We can do live wallpaper where you can change where the background is actually moving. You can see kind of the bubbles are moving. I'm not sure if you can see in the screen, but it's an active wallpaper. Or if we just wanted to do a straight up image, we could grab an image of our own and set up our own background. So if you wanted to put a picture of your own car, maybe a picture of your family, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, you know, your dog, whatever your favorite thing is. And then another very cool feature is the color keys here. So depending on your dash, like I said, this is a universal piece, so it'll go into anything. So when it comes to the versatility, it'll go into anything. But so you can see our buttons here on our factory buttons are kind of a white color. So we went to the color key and we changed our buttons to white. But you got a variety of colors that you can go. You can kind of see we could do orange, and now our buttons are orange. Not sure if you could see that in the screen, but it is a very cool feature to kind of help match your dash a bit, make it look a little bit more factory. All of your menus will work in both vertical and horizontal. You just got to flip it. Like I said, it'll go 180 degrees, so it'll flip back the other way too. And everything's pretty quick response. You got your home button down here at the bottom. We'll send you back to your home page where you can get to any of your different applications. One more cool thing, I'll do a video in a little bit where we went and purchased a Shield USB Android gaming remote, and we're able to download a couple emulators out of the Google Play Store and download a couple ROM games, and I'll show you. You can sit there and play some old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis games with this remote. Plugs right into the USB of the unit, and you can sit there and play video games. So just a lot of very cool features our Universal T-Style offers you that any other normal radio wouldn't do. I really hope this installation video was helpful. I know it's a little hard because I installed into a 2014 Sienna, so your car is going to be a little different, but the mechanics of the install is going to be the same. You're going to want to make sure you get the best third-party kit, best third-party harnesses you can. You're going to go and do a typical double DIN install. And then once you've got the double DIN install and all of the dash put back together, then you'll go ahead and you'll mount your screen like we just did. It's a cool piece, one of my favorite pieces we have. So hopefully you like it. If you do, give us a thumbs up, share it, let people know cool features we have going on. You can find us out as we continue to release new products. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're there at Linkswell Link. As well, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to release 2-minute how-to videos showing you how to do different things, and as well as installation videos and just release videos of the new product. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good day.